Okay, since last week I was talking about how I needed something different, and shortly before I actually uploaded that, I had an idea. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Can't really say what it is right now, because I'm still kind of in the, I guess the thinking stage of it. But yeah, one thing it might do, I might have to back off on uploading a little bit. It's going to be a little while. I still got a few videos in my pocket. But it's something I'll still do this one, at the very least. I'll do the Writing with James thing once a week. But yeah, a little bit down the line, I may have to back off a little bit. But for right now, movies have kind of been on my mind here lately. Ever since we went to it's actually the Wahlberg Cotton Gin, which was used as part of a shooting location for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But that was part of, like I said, we went to see, just because it was part of the filming location, we started picking some stuff up. It actually ended up being a paranormal investigation, but so I dug that movie up and I watched it. I'd never even seen the movie when we went. I saw the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre a long time ago, but that was the first time I'd seen the 2003 version. And I've been talking about movies a lot here lately, and so I thought, well, just for fun, just for something to do. Everybody always gives like their top movies. They talk about their favorite movies, their top 5, their top 10, whatever. Well, I think just as important are your bottom 5. The movies you want to advise people, just don't ever bother with this. So that's what I would like to give you today, is the 5 movies you should avoid seeing, if you can, or if you haven't seen them already. Alright, these are just the worst movies I've ever seen. And first up is, well, I'll start with the one that if you have to watch one, this might be it. It's Batman and Robin. I saw this in the theater when it first came out, and I was a big fan of the Batman movies back then. I liked Michael Keaton, and while I had problems with the third Batman movie, I accepted Val Kilmer, and this was George Clooney's turn. And I have to say, Clooney was actually a pretty decent Batman in a very bad Batman movie. It's mostly the way it starts out that I have a problem with. It does kind of level out after a while, but the first 15 to 20 minutes is absolutely horrible. I don't know why they felt the need to add the comic sound effects and the little whoop when the bad guys slip and fall. It just immediately took me out of it. But like I said, it does level out a little bit after a while. There are too many characters. You've obviously got Batman and Robin. Then Batgirl makes her debut. Alfred plays a bigger part in this one than he does in previous movies. You've got Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. They're the primary villains. And you've got Bane, and you've got Commissioner Gordon and all the fringe characters. It's just a lot to keep up with. And plus Robin comes off as this whiny little brat, It's just not very good. But if you were going to watch any of the movies that I give you, I guess this would be the one you would have to try. If you haven't seen it already. Okay, second on the list is Date Movie. I really had high hopes for this movie when it came out. I also saw this in the theater, and ironically, I was the only one in the theater for a movie called Date Movie. And Now, I'm a big Allison Hannigan fan, and I was glad to see her get a chance to be the star of something. She's been great in everything she's done in movies and TV. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, How I Met Your Mother, the American Pie movies. But all that, she was either a supporting player or part of an ensemble. And here she was the star. Okay, cool. It's cool for her. Unfortunately, it sucked. And I do realize that by the time this came out, parodies had pretty much run their course. I guess these kind of movies had their last gasp with the first couple of Scary Movie movies. But there's usually something redeeming you can find in a movie, and there just wasn't here. There was one scene when Allison's love interest, I can't remember the character's name, he's on an elevator, and it cuts away for a second, and it comes back, and he's playing the maracas along with the elevator music. And I kind of went, and that was all the reaction this movie got from me. It's the closest to a laugh I came through the whole thing. And I was rooting for it from the beginning. I kept thinking, it'll get better. No, it didn't. And not even Fred Willard could save this turd. It was really bad. Okay, third, Spring Breakers. Okay, as a heterosexual male, I have to admit part of the reason I saw this movie to begin with was the fact that the poster and much of the promotional material centered around the movie featured young, attractive women in bikinis. And after watching the movie, I figured out that was the only way they could possibly promote the movie and get people to watch it. Luckily, I did not see this in the theater. I only paid $1 and change through Redbox. But in a nutshell, it's a movie about misdirected youth, but the route it takes to get to that point is a long and baffling one. It's very artsy in its camera angles and its cinematography, but a lot of times it sacrifices making sense for the sake of being artsy. And, in the end, you really just don't care what happens to the main characters. Selena Gomez kind of comes out the winner of it all because her character leaves with about 20 minutes left in the movie. She didn't even have to be there for the whole movie. If you're tempted to watch because your attention is also captured by attractive young girls in bikinis, I would advise you stay home and look at pictures because the movie even takes the fun out of the poster. Alright, the second worst movie I've ever seen is Eye of the Beholder. Now, this is another one I saw in the theater. It starred Ewan McGregor and Ashley Judd. Rotten Tomatoes describes it as part high-tech spy thriller and part psychological study. And I just describe it as a long, confusing, and boring movie. It's also on Rotten Tomatoes, they describe McGregor's character as an agent with the British Secret Service, which I don't think they ever actually say in the movie, so I'm not sure how they determined that. He is apparently with some kind of law organization or something, because he's approached at one point by a cop, and cop's kind of giving him a hard time, and he flashes some credentials that we never get to see, and the cop just kind of slowly backs away from him. And the movie itself is just McGregor following Judd around, and at one point she ends up naked in the rain and bleeding. I can't even remember now what she did to bleed, but she's bleeding, and then there's a car wreck and the movie ends. That's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. I remember sitting in the theater with my hands up as if say, that's it? That's how it ends? And, I saw someone compare it to the movie Rear Window. No. Rear Window was a good movie. I can't decide if Eye of the Beholder was trying to be too much or if it wasn't being enough. It was just bad. Alright, and finally, the worst movie I've ever seen, which I need to add. This is just movies with a budget of some kind. It would be easy enough to dig up some of these, like stuff like Samurai Cop that that had, you know, I probably spend more on groceries in a week than they had for their budget. Their budget was so bad they couldn't shoot at night because they couldn't afford the lighting. So this is stuff that had, you know, like a big, you know, movie production company behind it, had some money to spend, and it just didn't pay off. So the worst movie I've ever seen with a budget is Wired. And if you're not familiar with Wired, it's based on the biography of John Belushi by Bob Woodward. And I was actually looking forward to seeing this movie when it was released. I read the book by Woodward, and even though I knew a lot of it was BS, it was such a well-written book, I really enjoyed it. A lot of controversy surrounding this movie. A lot of, you know, Dan Aykroyd was upset about it. He actually put a curse on the people in the movie. And there was a lot of the book that just didn't add up, you know. But it was a really, let's say, it was a really well-written book. In fact, it was the first book I ever read cover to cover in one sitting. I literally didn't put it down until I was finished with it. So I was eager to see if they transferred that to film. And it came out in theaters, and I wasn't able to get to it the first weekend it was out. And I thought, well, I'll go next Saturday. It didn't make it to the second weekend. It was pulled from theaters because nobody was going to see it. Now, we're going back to 1989 here. So I had to wait forever for it to come out on VHS. Because back then, you know, it would be as much as a year before a movie would come out on VHS. And then to top it off, the local movie place, they were going to wait to get it because they said, well, we don't expect a whole lot of people to be interested in it, so we usually wait until it's a little cheaper and then get it. And so it took that much longer. I can't remember now how long it took for me to actually finally get it on VHS. When I finally did get it, I was the first person in town to rent it, and I may very well have been the last. I didn't even finish it. I shut the movie off, you know, maybe halfway through. It was just horrendous. At first, I don't know who was in charge of the lighting for this movie, but it must have been an easy job, easy money, because, you know, there wasn't any. The lighting was awful. It was literally a dark movie. It almost felt like they were making things up as they went along. Now, even the parts I knew were in the book came off as thrown together. The flow of the book was completely gone, and that made the BS part stand out that much more. Don't ever watch this movie. And if you are a John Belushi fan, just pretend you never even heard the name. Okay, so those are the 5 movies that I recommend never watching. That's something I hope will be just as useful to you as if I gave you the top 5 movies. And as I've said before, when it comes to movie reviews, sometimes I don't know why I like a movie. I don't know how to really put that into words. If I don't like a movie, I can pretty much tell you why. So, okay, well, hopefully you get some use out of that. I'm going to go ahead and end this because I all of a sudden had a coughing fit. Not sure where that came from. But I hope you enjoyed the ride. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these awful movies. Check out the outtake of the week at the end. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Give me a good burp.
No! Because I'm not having you make fun of me in 4 different videos still. I'm still getting made fun of the monkey thing.
Well, it's good to know people are watching my videos long enough to make fun of you.
Thanks, James.